Welcome back to Haddle's house. We are really out here, you guys. I can't believe this is episode 4 and I've already been at it for a month. I just want to thank you all so much for listening. Whether this is your first episode or your fourth, I am thrilled that you're here. And I just want to say I have been having the absolute best time doing this, so I really appreciate you listening along. This week, I got to interview Kate Johnstone, who is one of my best friends. We were roommates all 4 years of college, and Kate is such a delightful and funny person, and a little bit introverted, as we discussed later in our conversation. But she's always so open with me, and I think a lot of people who already know her are going to get to know her in a new way, and people who don't know her are going to get to see what a funny and awesome person she is. We talk about her upbringing, her family, her career path to being a very cool environmental lawyer, her marriage, and all the normal stuff we talk about here on Haddle's house. This was such a fun interview for me, and Kate was incredibly open and funny as she always is. And I just can't wait to share this with you. As always, please follow me on Instagram at Haddle's House, and please enjoy my conversation with Kate Johnstone. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
Welcome to Haddle's House.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too.
I'm just going to kind of dive right in. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay.
So my first question is, how do we know each other?
So we were randomly paired in college as roommates. So I found out who you were from an email after my senior year of high school. And I think I found you on Facebook and was looking at all your pictures. And then you couldn't find me.
Yeah, you didn't add me on Facebook. You just stalked me. And then your name, Kate, her real name's Catherine, but it's Catherine, like Katharine Hepburn. And I couldn't find her on Facebook, and I thought she was like a Russian spy.
Or just like a loser. And then I think we texted or emailed or something, or BBM'd because we had Blackberries.
Oh yeah, I think we were BBMing.
Yeah. So we met in real life in our dorm in the basement of Braun at Occidental. I think you were asleep when I came in. And then I realized when we became really good friends within like 2 weeks. I guess that's just what happens in college, but we just fit really well together. And then we lived together for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now we're still friends.
We're still friends.
I think it might have helped that we were both, I don't know, like we were fun. So that helped.
True. Tell me your life story. Where are you from? Who raised you?
Oh my God.
Tell me just a little bit about that.
Okay. This is hard because I want to be better at telling my life story without it just like being too confusing for people, because there's a part of my life that just gets really messy for a while.
Just like start at the beginning and we can take detours if we need to.
Yeah. Okay. So I was born in Illinois, like near Chicago.
I did not know that.
Really? Naperville, Illinois.
What the fuck?
My dad was a doctor there. They'd moved there a year before I was born, and then we moved 8 months later to Rochester, New York, which is where I grew up until I was 12. So I had a great childhood. It was so fun. We lived in a really nice suburb. Just you could bike everywhere. Like, it was very idyllic, and I'm so happy for that. My parents got divorced later, but I don't, like, the whole time until basically that happened, I was like, this is the best, and I don't remember really being unhappy.
You're like the baby. You have 2 older sisters.
Yeah, 2 older sisters, Eleanor and Elizabeth. I'm 3 years younger than the middle sister, so they're close together in age than there's a little gap, and then they had me. But yeah, I just hung out with them. I had a lot of friends. It was a good time. And I had an October birthday, so I always had like a Halloween themed birthday party. My parents would make scavenger hunts around our neighborhood, and we'd dress up in little costumes.
That's so cute.
And they'd make all the clues themselves. It was really nice. I can't imagine being that good of a parent.
You will be.
So my dad's a surgeon, lung surgeon. My mom's an actress and a teacher. My mom was actually on a soap opera in the 80s.
Very beautiful woman.
Yeah, she's hot.
Okay.
She was hot.
Don't talk about
She's
it.
beautiful. But she's mostly a theater actress, so I'd always go to her plays growing up and knew all the actors and was backstage a lot. It was kind of like a big community theater scene, so it was super fun. That was a lot of my childhood was going to the plays, and I helped out with sets and stuff, and had a lot of the actors' kids friends that I'd hang out friends. So then when I was 12, my family moved to New Hampshire for my dad's job at Dartmouth. He got a new job there, and that's when things kind of got shitty for a while because my parents sort of quickly weren't happy and they separated. And I moved around a bunch between New York and Vermont for most of high school, but I kind of made the most of it. I had a nice time despite the divorce, and then I ended up in California for college, and that's when you met me.
Gorgeous.
So, yeah. I think about people that knew they wanted to do whatever their job was or something when they were younger, or like they had dreams of that. I never really cared about any of that. I feel like I was very much just, I loved to play. I loved my pets and friends and stuff, but I wasn't super looking into the future. Probably until like late into college, honestly.
That kind of naturally segues into my next question, which is, what do you do?
I'm a lawyer. I'm an environmental and land use lawyer, trying to be more environmental. But I like what I do. I went to law school like 3 years after college, so I worked for a little while and didn't really know what I wanted to do, but knew enough from people that worked in environmental law that it was interesting to me. And then when you get to law school, you have a lot of ideals and you think you can really make a difference. But then the reality of financial stuff sets in, and so I work at a big law firm. We work mainly for big corporate clients, so it doesn't really feel like I'm making any kind of positive impact on the world right now. But I like it, and I feel like I'm learning, and just because I'm not doing that now doesn't mean I won't do it eventually. But I've become kind of less optimistic about the environment and climate change and making a difference, just generally, but that's a different thing.
Yeah. First, I think it's important to acknowledge that you work at one of the best law firms in the country, and they scouted you nice and early in law school, and like you are a badass. So I know you're not going to say that about yourself, but I just think it deserves to be said. And then also, I don't know, if you work for one of those major companies where you're making good money, you're not going to be living by all your ideals, but the fact that you're even doing environmental law at all is still cool. And you can always pivot and whatever, just pay off that law school stuff and then get that money, honey.
Yeah. Get that money. Yeah, I think once I got into law school, my life became super just focused only on that because it's just so competitive, and same with this job. So sometimes I think it's kind of changed my personality a little bit because it does, like, especially just legal thinking kind of does that, where it's very like logic based and like you don't really have a lot of room for creativity sometimes. But I think now I've been working there like so I've been in like the legal brain for 7 years almost. You can have that part of you, and then there can be the other you that you know from when you were younger that's like a little more fun and creative and has things that they do outside of work, because I was so scared and stressed and trying to just be good at that for a while, and now I feel more confident in it. And so I feel like that gives me room to have other parts of my life. So I'd say in the past 8 months, that's like kind of started to trickle in, and that's been really nice because I just feel like weight's lifted a little bit and like there's more space in my life. So
that's really good.
I'm sure people feel like that in whatever they do professionally. It's like you hit a point where you're not as fight or flight all the time, and your brain's not just terrified of who's going to yell at me next. And I think I've built enough like trust with people I work with that they don't assume I'll fail. They assume I'll be good. It's a really good feeling. And I'm sure there's sort of like waves where it gets good and then you have to jump higher or whatever, and then it gets hard again. But I'm enjoying the break for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be somewhere like this forever, but it's a good challenge, I guess. And I feel very financially secure, so that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah, that's really important. And, you're married. That's not something that like is going to come up in questions I ask. So tell us about your husband.
Yeah. Well, I also met Riley at Occidental. We both knew who he was, sort of. He was around. He was a year older. Played baseball. So we began dating right before I went to study abroad in Chile. And then we just really fell in love quickly and decided to stay together. And that was definitely hard. There were a lot of ups and downs that semester, because dating someone when they're in their last semester of college and you're living really far away, I don't think at the time obviously you don't know you're going to marry someone when you like meet them that young. I mean, maybe some people do, but I think
when you're in love though, you always think that you could.
Yeah. We did long distance for like 2 years, I think. And then we finally moved to LA, and I was working at this company where I made less than minimum wage. I worked at I called it environmental consulting, but I think it was just trash work, like waste diversion. Basically, what we did was we like managed fancy tech events that were trying to pretend that they were environmentally friendly. And so we'd set up trash stations for them to put their compost and recycling into the right bins. But no one ever did it right, so it was all contaminated, so you just had to landfill it anyway. But we'd also run the events. And so at one, I was Ariana Huffington's assistant, and I had to get her a decaf latte, but I didn't get a decaf.
On purpose?
I know, I just fucked it up. But she was there promoting this book about sleep hygiene, and so she probably wasn't drinking caffeine. And so I gave her that. And then like at another one, I like had to collect all the trash at the ESPY Awards, which was sport awards, and I was like in Rihanna's dressing room.
Wow.
And like Justin Timberlake.
Oh my god, you've never told me this.
And I met Chance the Rapper, but that was like right when he was getting famous, and he was always outside smoking, and I was like carrying the trash for him. And what I learned is that at those events, no one eats any of the food, but there's a shit ton of food. Because the next day we had to do the final like trash stuff. And I don't know why this was our job, but we had to get into dumpsters on the roof of the Staples Center where there was rotting food in the sun and like pull it out and put it into the right thing. So at least I got paid very little money to do this, but there were these people there that were interns that didn't get paid. And then she kind of fired me because wanted like fewer employees.
Ariana Huffington?
No, the boss of that company. It was like a soft fire. It was like, I just think you should look for other opportunities. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't keep doing event work, doing trash stuff.
And like getting garbage
like juice all over me. So it's a funny job though to think about, because on my resume I think it says environmental consulting, but I think I should be more honest to be like I was a trash collector.
You definitely don't need to be more honest.
I think it's more interesting though.
To say you're
kind of gross. It's true.
I guess, I mean, to go from like a trash guru to like top of your class at
yeah, it's a good like glow up story for my career.
It's true. So you didn't always know you wanted to be a lawyer. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to pivot from their version of trash collecting and become a lawyer?
Specifically to be a lawyer, or just to change jobs?
To be a lawyer.
I would suggest anyone that wants to do it and like spend all the money on law school and all the time to get into law school, you should actually like know not just that you want to be a lawyer generally, but really why you want to be one and like what specifically you want to practice. Because I think a lot of people just go to law school because people told them that they're like good at arguing. That doesn't mean you're going to be a good lawyer if you're just like sassy. You barely spend any time arguing in court. Most of your time is spent reading and writing and negotiating, and it's interesting, but it's different than I think people think it is. So I think the best thing is just to be like, okay, what subject or thing do I want to actually do with what I practice? Because I think there's a lot of people that go to law school because they think it's interesting and they're good at the LSAT and they're good at logic and stuff. Then they end up going to a firm where I work, but they just do M&A or like corporate law. And some people love doing that, but I think a lot of people do it and they really hate it and they're miserable because they just like didn't really think about this is the topic or practice area I want. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's important to spend some time really thinking about that before you dive into it. It's a great career, but just like be sure you want to do it before, because it's expensive to start.
Yeah.
And not everyone can work at big firms, and not everyone wants to work at big firms, so you won't make the big money, and that's okay, but it's kind of like plan it, because I think some people just go straight through out of college and like do it, and then they're kind of like, why am I here?
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't go straight through.
If you could wave a magic wand and do something completely different, and you don't have to go to school for it, if you want to be a musician, you don't need to train, you're just going to be good at it, what would you do?
What I did want to be when I was younger, I wanted to be a drummer. And like I still think about it'd be fun if I had a drum set and could go play in a room, but I know I'd be so bad. But if I could be really good at it and be in a band and be successful, I'd do that. It's either that or I'd want to be like a skincare person, because that's like my hobby. I want to like make little kits for my friends of stuff.
Do it.
Yeah. What were you going to say before though? Was it about the drumming?
Oh, I was just going to say that I can see that because I know you so well, but I think a lot of our friends who would listen to this would be like very surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty introverted.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't know, like you are easily top, well, I'm not going to rank it because then other people will get offended. But you're one of the very funniest people I know. You crack me up. And everyone knows that you're funny, but I think you are pretty reserved. And you're pretty like careful with who you let in. So the idea of you, I'm picturing you as a drummer, like head.
Well, no, I think a lot of people don't know what I'm really. It like takes some time because I'm not comfortable around a lot of people, so I'll just kind of be pretty serious. And I think I've heard so many times that I look so unfriendly that I just assume people think I'm like kind of closed off, and then I stay that way. But no, if you know me really well, I feel like I'm pretty goofy and also
You're super goofy.
But I think I would have had to go down a different life path early on to like now be a professional drummer. But I bet it'd be a more in a way like a fun life.
It would be fun.
Yeah, I missed out.
Never too late.
Yeah, I mean, so I played drums for like I did like drumming competition.
Wait, what?
I did like not military drumming, but like I did snare drum competitions.
What?
Like playing.
We've been friends for like almost 15
Yeah,
years.
it was brief. It was like a 2-year thing in middle school, which I feel like I don't really talk about. Like I'd get judged. I did that, and I did piano competitions, which
like
I kept doing that in college.
We need to go back. What do you mean not quite military?
No, it's not. It's like I don't know what you'd call it. I mean, it's drumming, but it's not drum set. It's just on like the snare. So it's just like a beat.
Like,
you're just kind of like
around your neck.
It is that kind of drum though.
Band.
But no, I didn't hold it around my neck. Just on a stand that I'd bring in and set up. I think I was good. My drum teacher was this guy from my church that we're still friends with, actually. He's a family friend. And then I also had a drum set, and I do like band and jazz band, and I played in county competitions. So it was a whole life.
That's like a whole life.
Yeah.
So you could have.
I know.
You still can.
But I feel like if I tried to like come out to people about playing, people would make fun of me so much because it's so out of character that I'd be all shy and I'd just stop again.
I'll be your protector.
Okay,
I'll help usher you through your new life.
My drumming life.
I have no segue for this, but I want to ask you another question. What advice would you give yourself 5 years ago?
5 years ago was 2019. The big change coming up after.
I know. I didn't realize that when I formulated this question, and then the first person I asked it to, he was like, "That was like the beginning of COVID."
No, it's a good question though, because I think that my advice, knowing what happened after that, would be to just be more diligent and thoughtful about friendships. Because I think even if COVID hadn't happened, that was when I was still in law school. It was like my second year, and I was really in a vortex of just like that. And I had friends there, but I didn't even have a ton of friends in law school because I wasn't living in the area. And so I was pretty isolated. And I would just say, like, just be more outgoing and just be a better friend. Because I think I kind of stepped away from all that, especially once COVID started. And in a way, we all had to because we couldn't see anyone, but doesn't mean I couldn't have been in better touch and stuff. So I think that's something that, like, coming out of all that, and like once the world opened back up, it was really hard to then reintegrate and be that again. So I just think in your 20s, maintaining friendships can feel hard when you're like trying to figure out your career, but it's so important. And like romantic relationships are important too, but like that for me, that can't just be all I have. And luckily Riley's not a controlling person that keeps me away from my friends, but it was more just I did that to myself. But yeah, I think my advice is just be really treat your friendships like you treat your relationship, and I don't think they'll always be there and last.
I think it's good advice, like, to nourish your friendship.
Yeah, they're just as important as like family and romantic, and you shouldn't take them for granted. I think that's something I learned later, because like when you're in college, your friends are just right there, so it's not something you really have to think as much about. Like you were like my best friend, and I lived with you, so I didn't even have to like go find you somewhere. You were just there. It was very easy for me. And I'm not as outgoing as you, so I have fewer like really close friends. So it wasn't like, I don't know how you do it. I don't have as much, I don't know what it's called, to give or like I can't focus on that many people, or it takes more out of me or something. So
we're just like wired differently.
Yeah.
Like I think you're naturally more introverted and I'm naturally more extroverted, which
Yeah.
like when it comes down to it, that means I get energy from social interactions, and social interactions are sometimes draining to you.
Hmm.
Like you get energy, you recharge when you're alone, and I recharge when
Yeah.
I'm with people.
And I don't reach out, and I have to be super, super close with someone to really feel comfortable, just like want to go hang out with them, which is another thing I'm trying to learn to be better at. Just like you can meet new people. And it might be hard, but like you'll be happy once you're there. But yeah, it feels like a lot bigger of a lift for me. Like for you, it always just looked so easy. So,
I think it's actually gotten a lot harder as I've gotten older.
hmm.
When I was younger, I was just like so social all the time.
Yeah.
And now, like, I live alone and I'm single and I spend so much time by myself. And sometimes people invite me to do stuff, and I'm like,
No.
I'm busy tonight.
Yeah.
When I can see your location you're at, I'm like, oh,
Doesn't mean you're not busy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
There's a
I'm
whole
just,
world going on in here.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's really good advice. I think that that's important. And if you are a younger listener, definitely it is hard to keep your friendships in your 20s. And I think, especially if you are in college and then you leave college, up until the end of college, your friends are all your peers. Everyone's like on the same track, in the same pool, doing the same things all the time. And then after college, some people are living with 5 roommates and some people move in with their partners, and you're all doing very different things. And so the natural path that you're all on kind of like disperses. And I
Yeah.
think it does become really hard to stay in touch in the same way that you were, but that doesn't make it any less important. And so,
Yeah, and people move away. Like you moved for like 5 years, something, and like that happens a lot. And it felt like everyone left after college, but it doesn't mean people don't come back. It also doesn't mean that just because someone lives across the country, like you should stop being their friend. Because that's just like the world we live in. Like everyone bounces around, so it's important to prioritize visiting them and stuff. And also, I've learned. I mean, this sounds kind of stupid, but don't worry about people being your own age. Like, I'm friends with people that are like in their 40s or 30s, and like you learn so much from having friends of all different ages around you because they've been through like a whole decade ahead of you that you haven't, and they can give you really good advice. And especially, I think if you're in a relationship in your 20s, that's when like I think the friendship thing you can like deprioritize it, especially if you're like living with that person, you're comfortable at home, and like you don't really feel like you need to go out, but just like resist that a little bit.
it's true. Yeah. I mean, I definitely fell into that when I
Yeah.
was with my ex. Moving on. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
It's like might seem a little trivial, but I think it's important, which is don't say yes to doing something in like 4 months that you wouldn't do like tomorrow. Because you know how that feeling where you're like, yeah, I'd love to do that in like June and it's March right now. But then if that was like tomorrow night, would you actually want to do that? Might not.
Can
Might
you give
not.
me an example?
Of like something I wouldn't want to do.
Yeah, that you might say yes to if it was in 4 months.
Going to Vegas.
Oh my God, I would never say yes.
Would you go for a bachelorette?
Yeah.
So are you
If
good
I had
about
to. I mean,
yeah.
if it's like a friend, or if somebody's like paying for me to go to Vegas, sure, I'll go to Vegas.
But so if you like get invited to do something or like maybe like a concert, like Coachella,
No.
you wouldn't do that anymore either?
If the stars aligned and we had a nice house and VIP, I would go to Coachella. But I'm not going back to
Well,
like,
we did.
just like sleeping in the dirt and like being dusty little fucks and
Sleeping on the floor of those people's house.
yeah. Oh my, we actually got really lucky.
Yeah, we did.
That's a sidebar, but Peyton and I went to Coachella with
2012
with 2 pillows, one each, 1 gallon of water.
Yeah, we didn't even have a tent.
We had literally 2 pillows, a gallon of water, and a tarp.
Like sunscreen.
And sunscreen and like $80.
And a camping spot.
Well, yeah, but
for our car.
Yeah, but that was all we had. And day one, we were like, oh, damn, all the food is like $25 a thing. And we only have $80. I know this wasn't like that long ago, but I feel like credit cards weren't really working. I don't know.
No, I didn't have any money.
Pretty early on, we were like, we have to leave tonight. Like, we are going to die. We are not going to make it for 3 days. But we ran into a friend of mine, like my first ever boyfriend, my 6th grade boyfriend. We like randomly ran into him there. And he was so nice, and he let us stay with them and like sleep on their floor, and they showered us and they gave us food. They were so nice.
They showered us.
They allowed us to shower.
That was the one condition. They had to wash.
You guys can stay here for free, but we will be showering you.
Those bathing suits. Nobody's been naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like shockingly lucky.
Okay, so the best advice you've ever gotten is don't say yes to something.
See, like when you put it that way, that's not the best.
I think it is kind of too hard of a question. I realize I'm asking these questions because I want to have a conversation about it. I'm not like, tell me the
Yeah.
best piece of advice you've ever in your
Yeah.
life. But like that's something you like stick with.
It's a good piece of advice. That, and then like take everything one day at a time. Don't project too much into the future. But I don't know if that's really advice as much as just kind of like a way to get through a hard time in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like life throws
Yeah.
hardballs at you all the time.
Yeah. It's not like don't plan too much for your life or don't, have high hopes, but just like be okay with the fact that life's not going to go exactly as you think it will. And like things could change really fast. And yeah.
Yeah. They say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan.
Your plans.
But I think that's kind of like one of the harder things about growing up is just kind of realizing that like you can do all the responsible things and like do everything right, quote unquote, and like life just does what it's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary. I'm like more afraid and more anxious than I've ever been about just like things happening, like people getting hurt, my family members, my friends, like getting into not just accidents, but just like getting sick or something. I think also it's as our parents are getting older, because your parents are older, like it's, oh, life's super short. But also the positive is I feel like because I realize that things are so finite, I'm trying more and more to, talk to my parents more and be more thoughtful and like not be mean to them. And not treat them like I probably did when I was a teenager. So
Yeah, I think there is definitely something very destabilizing about growing up and just realizing how precarious everything is and like how lucky we are to have made it this far. And there are so many circumstances that needed to be exactly perfect to have things the way they are, and to realize that is precarious and to, I guess, just be grateful for it.
yeah. There's days when it feels very much an earthquake could happen, and not a real earthquake, but just kind of like your life could just get really shaken
What if
up.
an earthquake just happened?
Yeah. But it just, yeah, you want to try to control everything and you can't. So I
Yeah.
feel like the next stage, maybe like in your 30s and 40s, you get better at just being like, you know what?
Are you-
But maybe you just get better with the chaos and more like accepting that like you have to, let it go.
I definitely think about it. I like definitely struggle with it sometimes. Like the other night, I was trying to fall asleep and I started panicking about an earthquake, ironically. And I mean, I guess it's not ironic. We live in LA, so it's something you think about. I was Googling like precursor to earthquake seismic, and like the answer is like you just won't know until it happens. So yeah, I guess one of the things about being an adult is like all you can do is try to prepare,
Yeah.
and like for an earthquake, I ordered a bunch of water online and like have a Mylar blanket. And also, if you're listening to this and you don't know what to do, I recently learned you're not supposed to stand in a doorway.
Really?
Yeah, you're not. That's a myth. I
Where
Googled
should you
it. It was like,
stand?
absolutely do not stand in a doorway. You're supposed to go under like a table or a bed or something that can protect you.
That makes sense.
But
Because
like
the doorway, like, stuff could still fall on either side of you.
it's also a myth that was started because there was like a house that was left standing after an earthquake and only the doorway remained. So
Yeah.
people thought that was the safest, but I guess that depends on the construction of the house. And so just don't stand in a doorway.
Your house is getting like eaten by termites.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have termites in the apartment.
I wouldn't think anywhere is safe. You should get out of
emailed
here.
my landlord and I was like, hey, we have termites. And they were like, oh yeah, it's termite season. Spray some
No, that's not a thing.
All you can do is prepare.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Get the water.
Yeah, get like for earthquake
Get an earthquake
stuff,
kit.
Get an earthquake kit, and for family stuff, just be kind to your parents and like don't leave things unsaid and don't stay distant. Tell me something nerdy that you have knowledge about.
When I was like 8 years old, I don't know why this happened, but I got really interested in making knots, like a sailor. So my dad made me this board with like all these different like little fixtures, and he taught me how to make different kinds of knots. So I know probably at this point I know like 4 or 5 of them, but I was like into learning about them and like knotting. And I never did any sailing. Like there was no use for this. I just liked them. That and then I got really into Monty Python for a long time. Did I tell you I had to print out their song lyrics and glue them into a notebook?
No, but I know you love Monty Python.
Yeah.
I do
So I had a little book of their really inappropriate songs. Isn't it all nice to have a penis? And I'd sing them.
And drum along.
Yeah. My little pad. Yeah. So I'd say my knots and my Monty Python stuff.
Can you, it doesn't have to be a song, can you give us a little Monty Python drop?
I can do the I'm a Lumberjack song.
Great.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. I wear high heels, suspenders, and a bra. That's all I know.
Very beautiful.
That's not even right, probably. It's close, though.
I mean, listen, I don't think there's going to be many fact checkers. And if there are, she did her best.
I would say also, if you're listening, watch the Monty Python. I think it's just called like the Ministry of Funny Walks skit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great one.
That is a great one. Have you ever seen a ghost?
I think so, but I was a child, so part of me is like that probably wasn't real. But children, I think, see more than we see because I think they're more open.
That's true.
Because the world hasn't just squashed them.
I also think if life is a circle, which I think it is in a lot of ways, at the beginning you're like closer to the end.
Mm-hmm. No, I believe, yeah.
So like people are more open. And,
yeah.
Like,
well, your brain's like growing and like I think you're like receptive to more. I think so. I think.
And kids like remember their past lives sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Sometimes kids are like really fucking weird and they like say stuff and they're like, you're like, well, what do you, who told you that?
There's that story about that kid that like remembered being a fighter pilot in like World War II. Have you read about it? And they like wake up in the night like screaming for their husband. Like you're 3 years old.
Okay, but wait, so you were a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe you saw a ghost.
I think I went to my elementary school was like a really old building. That place was built in like, I don't know, 1800s. And so it had never been like renovated. So it was all the original building and there were like creepy basements and stuff. And I was, I think in like first or second grade, and I went into the bathroom like during an assembly, so no one was around. And I was just going to the bathroom and I looked under the stall and I saw kind of a face looking at me. I know. But then it like went away and I just saw like feet but no one was in there. And I just kind of sat there for a long time. I wasn't that scared, but
I'm scared.
But it was very spooky looking. It wasn't a person. It was just I saw like a face and then they were like looking at me and then it was like feet and then it was gone.
Wow.
I know.
That's scary.
But sometimes I'm like, did I dream that? Like, or was that real?
So.
But I like remember being at this thing and I know what the assembly was and stuff. So.
Did you tell anyone at the time?
I think I told my friend. Yeah.
Okay. Do you collect anything?
I kind of collect perfume.
Okay.
I like to have and keep scents from different parts of my life. Maybe this isn't that unique, but like I like to make sure I don't just use it all up because I have ones from like freshman year of college or being abroad that really just immediately remind me of that and make me really nostalgic in a nice way. So I like to keep all of them. Somehow it just kind of clicks in with my brain really well.
Yeah, scent is the strongest memory.
Yeah, scent.
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 Scent is the strongest sense memory.
Yes. Yeah. So I like that's like something I do. I don't think I collect anything else. I mean, I have like, jewelry, but that doesn't count.
I feel like you collect like old posters.
And I did do that. I think I lost a lot of them in our storage wars.
Oh yeah, tell the listener about that.
Yeah, without naming names. When Hadley and I went abroad, we shared a storage unit with 2 other people that were also studying abroad the same semester and put all of our stuff from our dorm into. And while we were all out of the country, the person who was paying for it on their credit card, I guess their credit card got canceled and they just like didn't know and they didn't get the notifications from the storage company that they weren't getting our payments, and so they sold all of our belongings.
Yeah, so if you default on a payment with, what's that place called?
It's like public storage. It's like you have like a 30-day window to pay?
No, it's a 120-day window.
Oh, so it was a long
she
time.
had 4 months, and they called her every day for 4 months, and they sent her emails, and she just, like, didn't answer any of them, and so after 120 days, they liquidate the unit.
Yeah.
Which means people can just say, like, "I'll give you $75 for that lot there."
For the you got whatever's
and they don't
in
know
there.
what's in it, but they get everything in it,
Yeah.
and
It was, everything I had because, like, I didn't live with my parents anymore.
Yeah.
So it was, like,
It was, like, everything
clothes,
we owned.
posters, belongings, books. You had, like, a lot of costumes.
But I lost a bunch of scuba equipment, which was, like, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. No, whoever got that storage unit really lucked out because there's probably, like, $20,000 worth. I mean,
Minimally.
yeah, so we did get money. Like, her family paid us, which was
Very lucky.
lucky that they had those resources, but I lost, I think, all my posters then, and then whatever I had left, I think I just had destroyed with, like, tax and stuff.
Okay, next question. What items can you not live without? Like, if you went on a trip and you didn't have X items,
Mm.
what would they be?
How many should I say?
As many as you actually would be upset if you didn't have.
Oh, it's a lot of things. You see how I pack? The Crown Affair towel.
Mm-hmm. It's a hair towel.
Yeah, that you recommended. It's really good. It's, like, totally different. I feel like your hair just doesn't dry the same with anything else. That I have a special shampoo that I use that's, like, not sudsing. It's called Hair Story New Wash. I really like it. You don't have to use conditioner. It's just, like, all one thing. I use, like, a oil cleanser for my face. I don't use, like, soapy stuff. And I've used that for, like, 4 years, and it's, like, my favorite thing. It's also, like, very comforting, so you can massage your face and do wash-all with it while you're washing.
Ooh.
So that's my favorite cleanser.
What's the brand on that?
Hand Skin Pore Cleansing Oil. It's like a
Hand skin?
Hand Skin, HANSKIN.
Oh,
You can get it on Amazon for, like, $20.
Drop a link.
Yeah. And then the SkinCeuticals Vitamin C Serum. That's, like, ridiculously expensive, but I love it. And then
Hey, you're not a fancy lawyer, so you can just say more.
that's why I do this job. This stuff. And then I think you use the True Botanicals face oil.
Mm-hmm.
That I mix it with, like, a moisturizer. And then other than skin stuff, I mean, I like makeup, but I feel like makeup I'm less obsessed. I love it, but I don't have specific things that I always have to use except the Kosas concealer that I use because it's really good for my skin, or, like, feels nice on my skin. But I have, like, kind of bad feet. So I have these things that, like, separate my toes at night that I put on that are, like, they're called, like, yogi toes. And they feel really good on your feet. And they, I hope, are being preventative because my mom's feet are all jacked up now and she has to, like, get foot surgery. So I have, like, the same basic, like, legs as her. So I'm like, if I can prevent my feet from turning into bunions, then I'm going to do everything I can. So I would take those on a trip.
Those are all great answers. We'll drop some links in the show
Yeah.
notes. Do you know what your attachment style is?
Oh, yeah. Do you know, like, off the top of your head, like, what are the names for that? I know there's anxious attachment.
There's anxious, avoidant, secure, and disorganized.
What's disorganized?
I think disorganized is also sometimes known as anxious avoidant. It's just kind of like it switches, but it's definitely not secure.
And this is, like, mostly in romantic relationships, or is it kind of with anyone?
I mean, some people have different attachment styles for their romantic partners versus their other
Than their friends.
relationships, but like, I'm just kind of asking generally.
Yeah, I think from what I've learned about it, I'm kind of, like, avoidant, but, like, also, like, in the spectrum with secure. But I think avoidant is kind of the biggest issue I've had when I've had, like, issues with relationships where I'm never the one to remember to reach out, or, like, my power thing is to, like, not need someone. So I just create distance, and, like, it's often unintentional, but I think part of it's from being a youngest sibling because everything was always just kind of easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they always did stuff, so I didn't really have to think about it. So, like, that's been an issue, I think, in a lot of relationships and friendships where it's just, like, I'm kind of, without realizing, I'm not the one to be very good at, like, initiating stuff. And that happens in my relationship too.
That's interesting because you said you're avoidant, but also secure. So, like, you're secure that they love you.
Yeah, but then I'm, like, not really giving back enough.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about avoidance in this because so far everyone I've interviewed is avoidant.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference because I know a lot of people that are more like the anxious attachment where they, like, really need a lot of it was, like, reinforcement and affirmation maybe, but just, like, people with that personality. But I think a lot of the people that I'm like really close with are like that because it wouldn't work if there were two avoidant people, then you just wouldn't even talk.
That's true.
It would never turn into anything.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like people you've talked to who you're close with. You're the one having to pull the weight.
That is, I mean, that's an interesting thing. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, most people I've dated are very avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as an anxious attachment, I'm like,
Yeah.
could you not?
Yeah.
It's like feeding my worst
Yeah.
fears.
And it's helping that. And it's also, they don't have to change because your style is to be so communicative. So like it kind of does the work for them.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess in the same realm, do you know your love languages? Like what you like to give and what you like to
Mm.
receive?
Yeah, I think giving wise, it's like acts of service. So making food or just helping someone when they're like with Riley, with my husband, it's like caring for him basically. I don't know, making dinner, shopping, getting him a little treat or something like that. I'm good at that and I really like doing that and I get a lot out of it. But then I think what I really enjoy is he's really good at like actually like writing me like a lovely like letter or saying something like so sweet to me or he's just like really thoughtful and or like gifts and stuff. And I love getting that, but I'm so bad at doing it. So it's interesting when you're with someone where you like do things so differently, but I think he really appreciates all that I do for him as acts of service. But I feel like deficient in being like a romantic kind of person. Can't do it.
But like the whole point of love languages is that your romance
Yeah.
shines through by your acts of service.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm just like insecure about the fact that I like don't know how to do the like more typical romantic kind of gestures, but I know he appreciates what I do.
What do you think your most toxic trait is?
Oh, I want to ask like you what you think my most toxic trait is. No, it's a good question. I think probably triangulating is like at least my most like deeply seated one because I come from like a family of like mostly women and two sisters. And so there's a lot of not shit talking, but like talking about each other to like my mom or my sister. Like, it's like there's instead of just directly asking someone something. And I think I've gotten a lot better about like, am I doing this because I'm trying to like talk through something? Because there's a fine line of like, you can talk to your friend for advice about someone else, and that's not talking shit. That's just trying to work through something. But then there's also like, you're just kind of like gossiping. So I think that I've gotten better, but it's still something I'm not great at. So
that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Very honest.
Yeah. What do you think my most talk? I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think that's one of mine too.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily call it triangulating, but just like talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and yeah, sometimes it's, am I talking about this because I'm venting or because I think something like crazy happened or someone should actually know something, or am I just like gossiping?
Yeah. Or do I not have anything else to talk about? So I'm talking about other people.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay, this is my last question.
Okay.
And it's a hard one. You may not have an answer. Is there anything that you have always accepted to be true that turned out to be false?
Oh. It's a hard question. The first stuff that comes to mind is like really shallow.
That's okay.
It's just like body image stuff. So I don't think it's that interesting.
What
but
about-
I think thinking that women always have to be like smaller and be a certain weight and behave a certain way and dress like girly. We all grew up with that. And I think the way that societal shifts have happened, it's like really helped where it's just we don't have to do that at all anymore. It's so nice.
It is really nice.
And I think I was telling you earlier, like I felt like I'd gained like a little weight or something. And I think like 10 years ago, I would have been like so upset. And now I'm like, okay, maybe I want to change that a bit, but I don't feel like sick to my stomach about it.
Yeah.
Which is like so sad that we used to feel that way. But just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Been living and like it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think when I was younger, I couldn't have imagined feeling like that secure or thinking that I'd be liked by like a guy that way. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that's shallow at all, actually. I mean, it is, I think, quite literally like a, it's skin deep body, but it's a very profound thing because I think growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, yeah, we were fed like, if you're not a Victoria's Secret model who's hairless, like
no one will love you.
Some shit.
Yeah.
And like that, like our whole society and generation of girls, not saying that girls growing up today have it any easier. I'm sure like TikTok and Instagram and whatever, like it's making it way more fucked up.
So hard.
But yeah, there is this unlearning that happens when you're kind of just like, okay, maybe part of that's being in our 30s. Maybe part of that is just like the cultural shift, but this is who I am. I love myself. And like, yeah, I gained a couple pounds because I was eating cookies and like having a good time. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, it's just caring about yourself more and treating yourself the way that you'd treat a friend.
Yeah.
And that's nice. I think it's nice to know that our brains can make that shift. And hopefully, I don't know. I mean, everyone's can't, but like, I think it's getting better because like it all comes from the outside. So it's nice to live in a world where that's better. And also, I think about this with work stuff. If you watch like old, even movies from like the 90s, the way women were like talked to at work,
Oh, yeah.
just complete harassment.
Yeah, they're like, where's that memo, Toots? Get
Yeah.
over here with
Like,
this
why aren't you
sweet ass-"
pregnant yet? What, she's a lady lawyer? Like that kind of thing. I can't imagine how women had to like dealt with that. And it's incredible that they did. But I'm so, so happy that I'm not in like the beginning of my career 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it really seems tough. And like there's people still say stuff and people are still sexist. And it's just like a little smaller, but it's there. But we're a lot more empowered to kind of be like, to just say, hey, that you can't say that to me now than like, and you won't get fired for it. Whereas like, I don't know, a while ago, you probably could. So
Yeah.
it's just feeling more powerful and okay in our bodies is a good thing.
That is a good thing. Okay, I do have one more question. You know, when you're doing like word games and it's like, do you have a fun fact? Do fun fact?
About myself?
Yeah.
Oh, I had dinner with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah.
Stop with that.
That's when I was in high school. My sister became friends with his nephew. And then we were all in New York City for a trip. And the nephew was there and he was like, do you want to come to a play with my uncle? And she knew who his uncle was. So we were like, yeah. So we went to this like really weird play. I'm sure it was like a good play. I just don't know what it was. And then we went out to dinner afterwards with like him and his wife.
Oh my God.
I know. It was pretty cool. And then he died a few years later.
I mean,
So he's like one of the best actors. Like,
he might be my favorite actor.
have you remember him in Along Came Polly?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar. That's like one of the he's like makes that movie. I mean, it's a good movie all around, but
Yeah, it's like a fine movie, but he makes it a good
yeah.
movie.
And like he could do that and he could also do like such weird and serious
Oh
movies.
my
and,
God, like Doubt?
yeah, Doubt
Oh,
and Cold Blood.
oh my God.
Or no, he wasn't in was
Yeah.
he in that?
He was.
Yeah.
He was Truman Capote.
That was great.
Hounds of Mr. Ripley. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I had dinner with him. That's a good fact.
That's a really good fact. Well, thanks so much for coming to Haddle's house.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
This was fun.
Now I want to interview you.
All right, we can do that off mic.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you.